Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we're going to take a quick look at the first Deathwatch preview that has gone up on the Warhammer community site. And I meant to do this yesterday, but I wasn't able to. And I am also aware, just so you know, that I look awful. So don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll stop eventually. But yeah, I'm afraid you're going to have to deal with my, frankly, spaced out and kind of off my face look today. You'll get used to it. It's not that different. So yeah, we're going to have a look at the Deathwatch preview, because I've got to admit, I'm a massive hypocrite, but you already knew that, because before I was like, oh, I hope they don't focus on Primaris too much, and the Deathwatch don't need Primaris to be special, blah blah blah, etc etc. And then I read the preview and I looked at the pictures of the Primaris Deathwatch stuff and immediately went, oh, that looks quite good. I quite like that. I actually really like that. What are you going to do? I can't help myself. If it looks shiny, I like it. I know it's shallow and whatever, but you know, it's plastic crack. The nicer it looks, the more you want it. That's just how these things work. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the stuff that is in this preview, because actually some of it does look pretty cool. So there is, of course, the fact that you can have mixed units of Primaris Space Marines, which have been nicely confirmed and all of that there. And there'll obviously be a load of stratagems. The exciting bit, though, is special issue ammunition. And as they point out, that the Codex brings Primaris Space Marines fully into the fold, allowing them for the first time access to special issue ammunition. For those of you who don't collect Deathwatch, this special rule allows bolt weapons to adjust their firing profile to suit their target. Against tougher models, for instance, you'll be able to use poisonous Hellfire rounds, while units in cover can be dispatched with Dragonfire bolts. This is where I got excited, because although admittedly that shoulder pad does not look like it belongs on that aggressor, it just doesn't look like the right kind of... It looks a bit weird. They still kind of look pretty badass, all painted up in Deathwatch colours, and the Reaver looks solid with the Deathwatch arm and shoulder there. So can you blame me? Can you blame me? They do look kind of awesome. Let's be fair. I don't know what it is about the aggressor on that side, but it looks less gorilla-like and more imposing, which I quite like. Anyway, also bolt rifles, bolt carbines, stalker bolt rifles, standard bolt rifles, and the Absolver bolt pistol can now be outfitted with this ammunition, making intercessors a very powerful choice. Cracking bolts, for example, help compensate for the lower AP of the auto bolt rifle, while a Reaver's heavy bolt pistol firing vengeance rounds would have an AP of -3, which sounds pretty spiffy to me. I can't help but notice that there is no mention of it's a bolt storm gauntlet, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be any mention of that, so I don't believe, speaking of that aggressor on the left, that his weapon has access to special issue ammunition, which is kind of a shame, but to be honest, it gives the intercessors a nice boost, and the fact that it applies to Reaver stuff as well, I quite like. But yeah, I don't believe the Bolt Storm Gauntlet going from this is special issue ammunition compatible, which, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice, but it might be a bit too strong, because they pull out a hell of a number of shots. Okay, so there's also a new special issue ammunition to play with, the Tempest Shell, and it's available in the form of a nifty stratagem. Full approval of the word nifty there, like the use of the word nifty, well done. Not used often enough, the word nifty. Tempest Shells, which is one command point. Tempest Shells incorporate tiny plasma shock generators that emit electromagnetic radiation when the shell detonates. It's such a load of bollocks, but whatever. Use this stratagem before a Deathwatch infantry model from your army attacks a vehicle with a weapon that can fire special issue ammunition. You only make a single hit roll with the weapon this phase, however, if it hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds. A little bit of a gamble, but you do get some mortal wound goodness if the gamble pays off. So, yeah, fine, nice, fair enough. There is also mission tactics, which we'll just go through. And worth pointing out, mission tactics applies to all your infantry bikes and dreadnoughts like chapter tactics, so I quite like that. I quite like the specification there. So we have Fura tactics. Fura? Yeah, I think it's Fura, isn't it? Furor? When attacking an enemy unit with the troop's battlefield roll, you can reroll wound rolls of 1. Venator. When attacking an enemy unit with the fast attack battlefield roll, you can reroll all wound rolls of 1. We'll just say that that applies to, depending on the thing. So Dominatus is elites, Malleus is heavy support, or Lord of War. Purgatus, whichever you fancy. HQ battlefield roll, and Raptoris, which is Flyer's battlefield roll. So it's reroll wound rolls of 1 for the different slots of what you get off the old force organisation chart, or the specific unit type. So kind of, I mean, reroll wound rolls of 1 is nothing to complain about. It never is. Is it particularly exciting? Not really. But then again, I mean, at this point, we're going to see more recycling than anything else, because we've been through everything that you could possibly do at this point, I suspect. So yeah, it's okay. I quite like it. I quite like the flexibility of it at the very least. Yeah, another stratagem, 2 command points, which is adaptive tactics. Only a truly versatile approach to warfare allows the Deathwatch to best the myriad Xenos foes they face. Use the stratagem at the start of any of your turns after the first to change the current mission tactic for another one. If your warlord is a watchmaster, you can use this stratagem for 1 command point instead. I like that. I do like that. Give it a bit of the old fluffy reward if you make the watchmaster the warlord. Yeah, that's a nice incentive to do that. And finally, we have a little bit of warlord traits at the end. So, Vigilance Incarnate. In standing sentinel over a vital swathe of the Imperium, this warlord always knows the appropriate tactics to defeat a foe. Once during the battle at the start of your turn, you can choose to change your army's current mission tactic for another one. Excellent, I like it. The Tome of Ectoclades. The naming is getting more funny and more absurd, and I really like it. This grimoire, bound in the skin of the alien, holds the most powerful truths the Deathwatch have uncovered about their Xenos foes. The bearer can ascertain the vulnerabilities of those he is about to face. Such knowledge has in the past saved not only the book's custodian, but entire worlds. And this made me laugh the first time I read it, because I just had the mental image of a guy literally standing in the middle of a battlefield, going, "Well, hang on, whoa, let me just check the book." Is the book out? At least, okay, page 52. That's how you kill Eldar. Okay, let's do it. I don't know why. I know that's like the most unhelpful interpretation of this, but it made me laugh when I thought about it. Okay, so at the start of each of your turns, pick a mission tactic. Until the start of your next turn, you can choose to apply either the effects of the mission tactic that was currently active, or the mission tactic you have chosen for the Tome of Ectoclades to any Deathwatch unit from your army within 6 inches of the bearer each time they attack. I actually really like that. That is kind of cool, it is funky, it is fluffy, but it does nothing to dispel that image in my head. Okay, so to be honest, I really like the look of all of this stuff. Having said, you know, don't make a big fuss of Primaris being in there, don't focus on Primaris, all of that stuff. The fact is that it kind of looks interesting, it looks a bit cool. I like the fact that they're getting the special issue ammunition. That's going to make a massive difference to Intercessor especially, and I think there is a genuine risk that it's going to be tied in quite well, because I know there was a bit of a focus on Primaris slightly in this preview, but for the most part it was just, now you can take these, they get this rule. That's kind of it. It's been a decent preview in that it's not massively focused on the Primaris stuff, it's not oversold it, it's just told you what they will do and the advantages that they will get as being part of the Deathwatch. So I think they've gone the right way about it. The preview as a whole looks pretty solid. I think Primaris might be in a slightly better place using Deathwatch rules for them. The special issue ammunition really is quite a big deal, let's be fair. I'm liking it. I think it looks pretty good. And of course they look ridiculously nice in Deathwatch colours and with Deathwatch shoulder pads, even if the aggressor did look a little bit off. I'd hope that we'd actually have like dedicated Primaris upgrade sprues in the box as opposed to just the standard one, but I guess we'll just have to see. I think, to be honest, decent preview. I'm actually genuinely a little bit excited. I am genuinely a little bit kind of having to think to myself, do I really want to start a Deathwatch army? Because it looks interesting. It sold me on the concept of something that I've not been sold on before, to be honest. I've never really I've always liked Deathwatch, but not enough to collect. And this is kind of making me interested, which is of course the entire point of these previews. But that is also a good way to judge it. If you read a preview and come away thinking, oh, I don't give a shit, then maybe that's not so good in terms of the preview and or the rules for the army. If you come away from a preview thinking, I like these guys, but I've never really been tempted, and instead change that to, I'm actually kind of tempted, I think they've done a decent job. So that is the current preview that is up. I'm sure there'll be more. I think they're going to do stratagems and stuff they've said. So a huge range of stratagems, new troops choice, and other stuff that they will go into. I think, anyway, we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm liking the look of this. I think they've done a decent job with that, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when the Codex comes out. I should get a proper look at all of the rules, because I don't want to be tempted, but I am. I don't want to be tempted, but I'm definitely being tempted. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And what did you reckon of the preview? Do you think it's a decent one? Do you think they're doing a good job? Are you excited about Deathwatch, or do you just not really care because we've had enough of Deathwatch? Given that this was labelled the year of the Xenos by many people, I think even I said it at one point, even though Games Workshop never has, there is a little part of me that finds it kind of funny that Deathwatch is being released at the moment, but technically, I mean, it's related to the year of the Xenos, right? They are, after all about killing the Xenos. So, swings and roundabouts. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. In the meantime, you can click video here, his Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like. Don't click if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. And I will see you for the next one, where I hopefully look a little bit less like a walking corpse. Toodaloo.